He had been inside my house. Not once, not twice. Every single night, for 6 months, while I slept, someone had been standing inside my home. I found out by accident. And what I found, the photographs, the notes, the marks on the floor, told me that whoever it was had been watching me for a very long time. I want to tell you what stopped him. Not the police, not the locks I changed, not the camera system I installed. One book, one chapter, one night where I finally stopped being too afraid to open it. This is what happened. The small things. I live alone. I bought the house 3 years ago. Small, single-story, quiet street. The kind of neighborhood where people wave from driveways and nothing bad ever happens. The first sign was the kitchen chair. I came downstairs one morning and it was pulled out from the table. Not far, just slightly, a few inches. I pushed it back in, didn't think about it. The second sign was the smell. 3 days later, something in the hallway, not mine. I have worn the same unscented deodorant for 7 years. There was no reason for that smell to be in my house. I opened every window, told myself it was coming from outside. The third sign was the photograph. On my phone, in my camera roll, between a photo I took at the grocery store on Tuesday and a photo of my dog on Wednesday, was a picture of me, sleeping, taken from the doorway of my bedroom. I sat on the kitchen floor for 20 minutes trying to find an explanation. There was none. I had not sleepwalked and photographed myself. My phone had not malfunctioned. Someone had been inside my house, and they had used my own phone to take that picture, and then put it back beside my bed. What the police said. The officer who came was kind. He walked through the house. He looked at the photograph. He took a report. He told me to change my locks. He told me to get a security system. He told me it was probably someone who had a previous key, a former tenant, a contractor, someone who knew the layout. He said, "There's no sign of forced entry, so we can't do much right now." I changed the locks that afternoon. I ordered a camera system that arrived 2 days later. I installed it myself. Front door, back door, both windows facing the yard. I checked the footage every morning. For 11 days, nothing. I started to breathe again. I started to think maybe it had been a one-time thing. Maybe whoever it was had moved on. On the 12th night, my backdoor camera went offline at 2:14 a.m. Came back online at 2:51 a.m. 37 minutes. In the morning, the kitchen chair was pulled out again. What I found. I called a friend. Sarah came over that afternoon. She's calmer than me, more methodical. She suggested we check places I wouldn't normally look. We found the first thing in the hall closet. Behind the winter coats, pushed against the back wall, a plastic bag. Inside the bag, 6 photographs. All of me, different nights, different positions. One where I had fallen asleep on the couch with the TV on. One where I was at my desk, back to the door. He had been watching me for months. Long before I noticed the chair, long before the smell. Sarah was the one who found the second thing, under my bed, taped to the wooden frame on the inside, a folded note. I don't want to read you the full contents. I will tell you this. It told me he had been coming for 8 months. It told me he had a key, made from an impression of my lock, before I changed it. It said changing the locks wouldn't matter. He had found another way in. And the last line said he would keep coming until he decided to stop. Sarah called the police. They came. They took the photographs and the note. They increased patrols on my street. The officer told me to stay somewhere else if I could. I had nowhere to go. The night everything changed. I didn't sleep for 4 days. I sat in the corner of my bedroom, back to the wall, lights on, watching the door. On the 5th night, somewhere around 2 a.m., I broke. I didn't scream or cry. I just ran out of the ability to hold myself together. I sat on the floor. and I did something I had not done since I was a child. I prayed. I don't know why. I'm not someone who goes to church. I'm not someone who claims a faith. But I had run out of every other option, and something in me, some part I couldn't explain, reached for something older than fear. I remembered my mother had left a Bible here when she visited 2 years ago. I had never opened it. It had sat on my bookshelf between 2 novels. I got up. I found it. I sat back down on the floor, and I opened it to wherever it fell open. Psalm 91. I had never read it before, but I read it that night, out loud, in the silence of a house where someone had been watching me for 8 months. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I kept reading. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day. I read the entire chapter, twice, then a third time, and something changed in the room. I don't have a clinical explanation for it. The air felt different, cleaner, like something that had been pressing down had simply lifted. I sat there until sunrise, Bible in my hands, Psalm 91 open in front of me. For the first time in months, I felt safe. Closing narration. The police caught him 3 weeks later. A neighbor's camera, of us knew about, had captured him on the street. They identified him. He had done this before in another city. He is now in custody. I'm not telling you that prayer replaced the police work. I'm not telling you that Psalm 91 physically stopped him. I'm telling you something simpler. That night, in the worst moment of my life, I picked up a book I had ignored for years, and the words inside it did something that nothing else had done. They made me feel that I was not alone in that room, that something stronger than fear, something that had existed long before he had ever found me, was there. I read Psalm 91 every night now, not because I'm afraid, because I remember what it felt like when I had nothing left, and those words were still there, waiting, like they had been waiting the whole time. For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. I believe that now. With everything that happened, I believe that now. Silence. Then, the quiet sound of pages turning gently.